Hi, my name's Sue Mallet. Welcome to this short course on designing diagnostic test accuracy studies, the absolute essentials you need to know. I work at the Centre for Medical Imaging at UCL in London, and I'm going to share with you important tips I've learnt in designing these studies over the last 20 years. The Introduction to Diagnostic Accuracy Studies is a series of short videos, each highlighting a key learning point. In each video, there are short activities where I encourage you to pause the video and think. If you're watching this with colleagues, it's a great opportunity to discuss together. After each activity, I'll share my thoughts and insights. This is part 9, Tools and Checklists to help you design and report your study. So sometimes people have got all the way to doing their whole study. They've done the design and they're writing up the article, and they're like, oh, I wish I'd known all this before, and is there anything I can do now to improve my article and make it more useful to other people? And I say yes, there's a huge amount you can do still, even in that last day before you submit the article. Go off to the Equator website and look at which is a resource for finding reporting guidelines, and find the relevant reporting guidelines for your study. Okay, here's a snapshot of the Equator website, and it has a search for reporting guidelines, but it also has the reporting guidelines for the main study types listed. For diagnostic accuracy studies, the reporting guideline is STARD, and in 2015 there was an updated version of STARD. So again, you can pick that up from the Equator website. So STARD has 30 items for you to report, and it's just so useful, I have to say. You know, I've written many articles on diagnostic accuracy, and I always return to STARD before I actually submit an article. I start off with it when I'm writing a draft, and then I return to it on that very last day before I submit. So I start with it because it helps me structure my article, it helps me remember all the really important things to report, and I return to it on that last day before I submit, because I've often had situations where I've accepted comments from my co-authors, and unfortunately they've been helping me with shrink the word count, and unfortunately that's knocked out a vital item I need to report. So again, 30 items, so helpful. Usually I feel good when I've got 26 on my own in my article, but I can still improve. I can still go from 26 to 30. Some of the items you may not know the answer to, but at least putting in your article that you don't know the answer is so important for other people trying to repeat your study, and other people trying to use your study for clinical practice, so they can actually understand the strength of the evidence. There's also a really helpful STARD for abstract. So again, either for your conference abstract or for your abstract in your journal article, I really recommend using that. Then there are some other various additions to STARD. So there's a STARD for latent class models for all those statisticians. There's STARD versions for particular diseases, like in dementia, where there's a STARD version for dementia. So you'll find all of these at the Equator network. When you're doing a systematic review in diagnostic test accuracy, you're lucky. There's been a dedicated group in Cochrane who've been working on resources for diagnostic test accuracy systematic reviews, and you'll find everything here at their website. You can also find self-learning modules to help you learn about how to do a systematic review, and some of those are very useful and complementary to some of these videos. There's also a Cochrane handbook. So there's a new version of the Cochrane handbook, version 2, that you need to have a Cochrane account for, but that Cochrane account's free, so just sign on, get a Cochrane account, and use those chapters as well. Really useful if you're doing a systematic review. So these Cochrane methods are underpinning a lot of guidelines for health technology assessment centres. So for example, NICE, it does have some guidelines on how to do diagnostic test accuracy systematic reviews, but it refers a lot to the Cochrane, and its methods are very much based on the Cochrane. I'd also like to highlight an article that I've written recently called Thomas R, which is a tool to identify variation and multiplicity when you're writing a review protocol. And so this is going to help you with thinking about heterogeneity, both in terms of identifying it when you're writing your protocol and when you're planning your data extraction, but also helping you think about how you're going to analyse those in your article. There's also Prisma, which is there's a diagnostic test accuracy version of Prisma, DTA, and this is about how you report your systematic review and checking that you reported all the relevant items for your systematic review. So what do you do when you're actually looking at someone else's article in the literature and you want to know how reliable are the results from this study? So you're thinking, what should I look out for as I'm evaluating a diagnostic study? How should I design my own study if you're thinking about designing your own? And what I would say is here are all the really important questions. You know, who's recruited, what point in the patient pathway, you want to know details about the test or the model, how was truth established, how was the data analysed. And this is where it's really helpful to look at risk of bias tools. These tools were designed to be used in systematic reviews, but they're also really useful for like critical appraisal of articles that you see in the literature, and also when you're designing your own study, have a look at those risk of bias tools. And these form great checklists for thinking about what biases could arise in a study, and that could be a study you're designing and you're about to run. So the newer tools for risk of bias always use a domain structure to reflect the patient, index test, comparison tests, and as I say, they were designed for use in systematic reviews, but they're a great checklist to use when you're designing your own study. So the risk of bias tool for diagnostic test accuracy is QuadUs 2. It's currently being updated, and this you can access it here from the on this web link. And again, it's organised in these 4 domains: P for participants, I for index tests, R and T for reference tests and target conditions, and O for the outcomes. And more recently, in 2021, there's QuadUs C, which is a tool which is used in conjunction with QuadUs 2, so you use 2 at the same time. This is for risk of bias for comparing diagnostic tests. Again, you can pick it up on the Bristol University website here. Another useful resource I would highlight is an article that, again, I was a collaborator on this article, thinking about the additional challenges of designing and running diagnostic studies. Now, this study brought together trial managers and statisticians who'd been running 10 different studies of diagnostic test accuracy. And we looked and thought about what were the aspects that were different between running trials for randomized controlled trials and for diagnostic test accuracy, and thought about what were the different challenges. And what we came up with is examples of 9 different areas of study design where there are additional challenges not present in randomized controlled trials. So this is really helpful if you're designing or running a trial and writing protocols, and think about what's going on in this article. So again, I'd like to just revise the main concepts that we've come across in all these videos. One is that if you want to apply results from a diagnostic accuracy study into clinical practice, you need to be using the test in similar patient populations and similar settings, a similar place in a clinical pathway, with similar target condition, and using similar test methods. So these are really, really important things to know, and they'll really help you think about whether the results from a diagnostic study are useful for you in clinical practice. So well done. This is the last of these introduction videos. This is the end of part 9. Thank you very much if you've been following all of them. I hope you've learnt lots of good stuff, and these will be useful for you when you're designing your study. And I'm planning some more videos, and also linking up with other people who also have some videos that they've done. So like Penny Whiting has some useful videos, and I'll provide some links with those. So well done. I hope you enjoyed these and these were really useful. Thank you.